Well, I just recorded a video for 7 minutes, but I didn't have audio, so I'm going to do it again. Well, I haven't posted here in some time. You might remember how I talked about depression in my last video. Yeah. And you might be wondering why I'm talking in English. And the reason is that I'm going to have my oral exam in English today, and I'm going to give a little talk about the educational value of video games, which I will now try to give to you too, because one is interesting and two just as practice. So I hope you can enjoy it. Today I'm going to talk about the educational value of video games. I'm going to work with the definition of video games as console or computer games, excluding mobile and idle games, because I simply don't know enough about them, and because I think, well, it might sound a little pretentious, that console and computer games are more true to the spirit of gaming, although there are some excellent mobile games as well. While one can create a video game to be educational, and many have done so successfully, I'm not going to specifically focus on those today either, because the fun thing is that you do not need to keep that specific metric in mind. Designing a video game, whether it's supposed to be intriguing or casual, complicated or easy, it all starts at the same creative process. And therefore my thesis today is that recreational gaming holds an educational value and a learning value in itself. I'm going to focus on three aspects of cultural exposure: cooperation and communication, and strategy and strategic thinking today. Starting with cultural exposure. Video games exploring different worlds, may they be real or fictional, familiarize the player with different cultures and further their imagination. To take the example of Persona 5 from the long-running Persona series, a game that is set in Tokyo, therefore showcasing the Japanese city itself, as well as, for example, the art style of anime. Or to reach into the realm of fiction, the world of Elden Ring is introducing a whole repertoire of magical, mystical things one can get into, tingling the player's imagination. The most obvious symptom of cultural learnings through gaming, though, is that of language. Especially for non-native English speakers, the exposure to the English language is almost inevitable. Most of the games published today are designed for the English market, and much of the discourse around them is held in English too. I myself picked up a lot of English vocabulary from playing Minecraft, for example, and that was the example a lot of my friends have given me when talking to them about this topic too. In Minecraft you can even set the language to Australian English if you want to have some fun slang words mixed in there, or you can, if you're a language nerd, even set it to Middle or Shakespearean English and see how that would feel in a modern video game. But there are also other languages prominently featured, if not in the game itself, then in the voice chat, where you will encounter people from all different countries, especially if you're playing in a European server. And in those multiplayer games, those multiplayer games might often necessitate the next aspect of my thesis: cooperation. Games designed to be exclusively multiplayer, like It Takes Two, or those designed to be enjoyed both single or multiplayer, like Lethal Company, all teach cooperation. One must work together as a team, overcoming barriers together to reach the goal, therefore naturally improving their social skill. Yes, even a shooter like Counter-Strike or Valorant teaches this skill. Two teams engaged in a highly strategic battle fought with virtual weapons, but also through cooperation and communication. It's important to know where your enemies are, where to go, where to expect your teammates. And communication in video games is, besides messing around and having some fun, mostly used to convey information to develop a better strategy, which brings us to my last point. The strategy in Counter-Strike consists in knowing the map, knowing what utilities to use. Utilities are, for example, smoke grenades, Molotov cocktails, or flashbangs to blind the other player. Yes, the game might strike one as a chaotic simulation of war at first, but it is more about predicting enemies' moves and developing a better strategy than about just shooting. Or well, sometimes it's just about shooting, but in the core of this game it's about the strategy, and especially when it's played in higher levels, of course, such as in esports, where you might even need to learn outside of the game to get better at the game. There are also, of course, numerous puzzle games which teach skills like pattern recognition, problem solving, and strategic thinking too. And there's even a whole category called strategy games like City Skylines, where you need to build your own city and focus on the infrastructure and fix traffic problems, skills that might be then transferred to the real-life job of a city planner. But even multiplayer games and their campaigns are mostly puzzles, a game being a kind of maze that one must navigate to reach the end, successfully employing those aforementioned skills. Although there's much more to be said on the topic, I believe to have decently summarized 3 of the most important aspects of the educational value of video games. And when you boot up the title of your choice next time, you may well recognize the culture that soaks in so easily. And if it's a multiplayer game, you will recognize how you cooperate with other players to reach the goal. You also notice that strategy, and if you consciously focus on that strategy, it might even make you a better gamer. Thank you. I'm so nervous. Wish me luck. I hope you enjoyed it, and then see you next week, hopefully. Yeah.